It's a landmark. The clay pieces are amazing. It's a beautiful work of art.
They put their heart and soul into it.
It is a jewel.
A one-of-a-kind type of globe.
It is a symbol of our planet.
You can bring your kids down here and teach them about the Earth.
It reflects who we are.
And there will be stories about it.
The fact that it's an industrial relic that was transformed into a work of art that symbolizes all of us.
How do you pull something like that off?
The site where we're standing, the edge of Riverfront Park, was really part of the Boise Cascade development, which was an active paper mill along the Willamette River and the Willamette Slough for many years in Salem. The original ball itself was an acid ball that was floated down the Willamette to Salem to be used for this industrial purpose.
The acid ball, which is a 3-story tall stainless steel vessel, and it was brought in to be used as a digester. It's a low pressure acid vapors accumulator. And that's what it was used for 25 years.
Back then we called it the acid ball. It held liquid and gas that was able to allow the paper industry to remove the acidicness of wood pulp so that it could be turned into paper. Because Boise Cascade had decided to leave that area of the riverfront. They left the acid ball there.
Eco Earth Project, it goes back to when I was a city councilor from Ward 3, and the city was interested in buying the riverfront land for hopefully a riverfront park. In 1980, the city bought the land and it formed an urban renewal area so that it could have funds to develop the land. You fast forward to 1996.
I was on a committee that was helped kind of formulate the goals of this waterfront park back when it used to be a industrial wasteland, really. Lots of people dumped oil to keep the dust down here, and kind of it was totally polluted.
And I was mayor at that time, and I didn't really want to take on another project. Then the question came up, what are we going to do with this acid ball? 26 feet in diameter, covered with tar. And there were some weird ideas. Somebody was, because it was black then, somebody said put a wick on it and make it a bomb. Another suggestion was a chia pet.
My idea was to move it to West Salem and make it into a baseball for the Wallace Marine Park. That didn't fly. Moving it's evidently a big challenge.
There was a project where that got some merit. One person said, paint it yellow, paint the whole thing yellow, make it the sun, and then have planets throughout the county. What I thought it could be, and that was an Earth globe. So I made up my mind that I was going to take the project on. I took that visual to Salem Park and Rec. They had a committee, and they were the ones to make a decision who would do the project, who they would assign the project to.
The idea about having it being the sun in a solar system, and we'd have, a marble out by Silverton.
The project that I presented lost. It lost, and I was kind of taken back. But then one of the committee members, named Dan Saucy, changed his mind. He changed his mind, and he voted for the project that we were looking at over here. Had he not done that, you would not have this. So Dan is responsible.
And then this Eco Earth kind of came up, and it was more world brotherhood rather than ecology. It wasn't necessarily ecology at that time. I didn't appreciate it as that. I just thought it was a chance for people to get on board with their heritage. And America was a land of immigrants and people from all over the world. And so, hey, here's a chance to appreciate that.
The next thing we had to do is we had to contact the Oregon National Guard because, as you know, the pillars that it was on was very poor. So the National Guard took on the project. picked the ball up, took the old base down, put a new base there, and stepped the ball back on. That was a significant contribution to the project.
I think they used it as training to come in and remove all of the pipes and hardware that was surrounding the ball. One of the things that they did is also help build the moat around there.
First thing I did is I contacted Mary Heinzman.
My involvement in Eco Earth Project started in 1999 when Roger Gertenrich, the former mayor, approached me to look at the globe. He had talked to other people and found out that I was someone who was familiar with how to work with mosaics. And so they approached me. He asked me if I thought that the ball could be turned into earth using mosaic tiles, and I said yes. When he asked me, I could visualize it, and I understood that it was a large project because they had thought that it would take maybe a year and a half. It took us 3 years. But I also knew that it was not something for one artist, but that it would take a group of people to work on this project.
The thing I knew Mary was an established, respected artist. What I didn't know about Mary, that she's a fantastic organizer.
I had a vision for it, for the ball, just as Roger did. I told him that I thought we could involve the community to work on it.
That's when she had a brilliant idea of turning this old steel ball into a globe with ceramic icons.
Once he told me that he liked my idea, then from there, just kind of jump into it. We are very fortunate at the Riverfront Park that the carousel was done by the community. And so A.C. Gilbert was done by community with all the art projects that they had down there. All the carousel horses were done by local artists. And some of those artists also worked on the Eco Earth Globe. They looked at the structure, and with the kind of the core acceptance over it, this decided to leave it on there because it had a little bit of asbestos in it. And so they felt that they could put a sealer over it, which is a membrane that they glued to it. And then what they did is they mounted kind of like a honeycomb type metal fabric that laid over it that was mounted to the ball so that they could float the plaster mortar that they use to make a foundation to put the tiles on.
Jules Youngren was another person that joined the team, and as you know, Jules has passed, but he had his heart and soul in this project. He knew the geography, and he knew every little bit of it.
Our geographer, who had been working for 18 months on maps for the globe, he had to do a lot of calculations, figure out how this was going to lay on there. And that is what he figured out where the longitude and latitude lines would be so that those grooves would be in there, not for only for marking, but because the globe actually kind of breathes and kind of expands with the cold, and that the rubber compound that is in there would allow for the contraction and the expansion of the globe, which is just subtle, but it also helps us to define a marking that we are all familiar that globes have. One of the things that we did after Jules had created all of his maps is to lay them down onto the globe and do tracings. Jules and Richard Moritz and Peterson, and I also got up there and helped do the tracing so we knew where all the continents were. We were able then to begin at the North Pole, work our way down, and at the same time we would work on the icons from the north, being up there, working our way down the globe and the panels, so I could reach out to different artists and tell them that we were going to be working on these panels.
The fish that I chose here is the California flying fish, and I did a sailfish, one called a look down, Atlantic sturgeon, starry flounder, and it's going to be good to see them get finished and be up there on the acid ball. It's a big project.
Did the reptile dinosaurs with Tyrannosaurus rex and Brontosaurus, as well as other people did some of the foundation supports for the globe of what we decided to do some prehistoric type icons for the lower part that held the globe up.
And so one of the things I felt really strong about was that high school kids could participate in this. I reached out to all of the pottery teachers, and we ended up with 145 students who helped with creating different icons. I gave a lot of freedom to those teachers to work with their students on different parts of the globe. They were delighted to do that. I provided them with clay, breaking down different areas that they could work on, and so all of the students had to do some type of research on the geography and on what would represent something that we would recognize for that area on the globe. And then I did the same thing with the local artists. I asked them what was it that they could offer in the way of their knowledge. For example, Carol Dury, who did Ayers Rock in Australia. She had been down there and she understood what birds were part of that area. It was something that the artists kind of ended up having a passion to research areas. The same thing with Deb DeWitt, who did Victoria Falls. Deb DeWitt also created the African one that had all these animals.
And asked me if I'd be interested in doing a mosaic mural. Being the animal lover that I am, I chose Africa as my favorite animals, and I just couldn't wait to get started on them. And I chose a mosaic pattern. This icon took roughly a couple of months to do. What I like to do is just apply a stain and then wipe off so that the stain is just recessed in the textured areas. Some animals, of course, needed some colors, but I didn't want a whole lot of bright, vibrant colors on this piece. I wanted it savanna looking.
Mary Heinzman wanted a hippo, so I did a hippo for her. An ibex for the Himalayas, the Umpqua Lighthouse, wheat. I did a bushel of wheat for Afghanistan. During the time there was the wars there, I wasn't sure what to put there. So I looked back at the history of Afghanistan and I saw that they used to produce a lot of wheat from there. And so I decided to go with something neutral and just make a bushel of wheat for Afghanistan.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into creating an icon. The students and the artists do the research on what they want to do, taking the clay and then transforming it into an image. And then they return it to me at Salem Academy, where I would cut it into sections. Because the globe is round, we had to have the tiles cut in a certain size. And then what we did was we fired it, and then the artists and our painters had to paint it. And then we documented the process as we went along, so that we do have information on each tile that is on there, what it looked like in clay, who made it, and also who painted it.
I found that if once I rolled the slab out and I did the impression of what the mask was going to look like, and then I painted it. And so the initial firing, it had color. And then I just came back and I added a black stain, and the stain brought out a lot of the features.
Mary needed some more pieces for South America, and so she decided that if I did Machu Picchu and then found a relic that would be discovered at Machu Picchu, then we'd place them side by side in the kind of Peru Andes area. There's nothing like the earth ball in Oregon or anywhere that I've heard of. And I'm sort of hoping it can be a focus for maybe ecology, or if people are involved in ecology, they can meet at the earth ball and use it as kind of a starting point. Years from now, people will wonder who worked on the earth ball and who did these things, and there will be stories about it. I think it's something to be proud of, to be part of it.
We create a map of each panel or each icon so that the tile setters can put them on. And we put out a request for people who would volunteer to cut all the tiles that were going on the globe. We had a nice tent with about 4 tables that had the different panels laid out on it, where the icons would be laid out. The question is, how do you get these all on the globe then? At that time, they still were making contact paper that you could see through. The clear contact paper allowed us to lay that down on top of the finished tiles. They would get adhered to it, and then we would be able to cut that into sections. We would lay them out according to the numbering system that we had. That was sectional panels that we could easily be able to pick up and put it on the globe. And the tile setters would then lay the tiles.
The tile setters, Dave Crowell and his group, put 86,000 tile on that thing. And they were even told that they should take union wages. The union was pushing them, and they said, we are not doing this for money. We want to do this because it comes from our contribution to the community.
How many tiles did it take to cover the ball?
Well, you'll be happy to know I counted every one of them. And there are 86,155 tiles and 300 icons covering that stainless steel sphere.
When we finished it, there was a sealer that was put on it. There's a graffiti barrier that a lot of people will put on their buildings or that allow for graffiti to be washed off. So one thing, when you talk about graffiti or, damage to the globe, the ball had to have scaffolding and plastic over it for about 3 years. And we did worry about that as we were working on it, that we might get some damage down there. We didn't. I think because it was a community project and it was publicized so well, and the high schools were all participating, and the Statesman Journal was good at giving us updates of our progress, that we had very little damage of anybody coming into that area that we were working. We only had one time where somebody came in and tipped all of our tables over in the tent and tipped over the outhouse. The community was excited at what we were doing down there at the Riverfront Park. I think when you have that type of project going on, just as A.C. Gilbert and the Carousel, people respect that.
It was exciting to see it come together.
The clay pieces are amazing to illustrate different places in the world. And so it's just an enjoyable icon in Salem, really.
The fact that it's an industrial relic that was transformed into a work of art that symbolizes all of us. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter, if you're an animal, you're a fish, you're a person, there's room for you on this globe. All of the people in Salem are represented here. Whether you came from Asia, whether you came from Africa, whether you're a refugee, whether you're a lover of wildlife.
I would like people to know that there was a lot of heart put into this project, a lot of time and energy and emotions, heartfelt emotions, that we were making something that the community could enjoy, and to give us something unique that we could say, yeah, we live in Salem, Oregon, the place with the eco-earth globe that no one else has.
And plus the name of Salem means peace. So this is all about everybody getting together and living on the same planet, Earth. So I just think it's a pretty amazing testament to what can happen in our city.
We're going to put a time capsule in the ball soon.
What's going to be in it?
Oh, lots of things. Newspaper clippings and photos of the process and the people putting together the ball and a video and just lots of things.
And when are they going to open this time capsule?
In 50 years.
50 years? I'll be an old man then.
The deal was to the city, the deal I presented to the city was that we would do the project, but once we were done and cut the ribbon, they would own it and take care of it thereafter.
Mayor Taylor signed documents and Roger signed it, turning it over to the city because it was our piece to be a gift to the city.
The ball out belongs to you.
And our expectations were that they would take care of it.
It will be there for 100 years or more.